first glance, most people assumed this project would follow a familiar formula. A damaged hypercar gets purchased, the repairs begin, the progress is filmed, and eventually the car is brought back to life for the audience to enjoy. It's the kind of content viewers have seen many times before, a predictable cycle of breakdown and rebuild that fits neatly into expectations. But the longer you pay attention to what's actually happening inside that garage, the harder it becomes to categorize it as just another rebuild. There is something far more significant unfolding beneath the surface, something that extends beyond one car, one creator, or one series of videos. What's taking shape here challenges a system that has quietly existed for decades without meaningful resistance. A system that governs how hypercars are owned, repaired, and ultimately controlled. When someone purchases a machine of this caliber, whether it's a Veyron, a Chiron, or anything comparable, the transaction doesn't end with ownership papers and a set of keys. It initiates a dependency, one that only becomes visible when something goes wrong. On paper, the car belongs to the owner. In reality, the ability to maintain and repair it has always belonged somewhere else. The moment a fault appears or a component fails, the options narrow instantly. There are no independent specialists with full access to the necessary tools and data. There are no comprehensive manuals available to guide even the most skilled technicians through the process. Every road leads back to the manufacturer, to a tightly controlled environment where the knowledge, tools, and authority to fix the car are centralized. This structure didn't emerge by accident. It was engineered into the very DNA of these vehicles. The tolerances are so exact that improvisation is not an option. Measurements exist on such a fine scale that even minor deviations can cause major issues. Unlike older cars where experience and mechanical intuition can bridge gaps in information, these machines leave no room for approximation. Without the proprietary diagnostic systems and the specific expertise held within the factory, the official stance has always been clear. This is not something that can be handled independently. It's not just about complexity, it's about control. And for a long time, that control has gone unquestioned. What makes this situation different is that someone is attempting to push against every layer of that system at once, and doing so publicly. This is not just about repairing damage. The visible issues, the broken panels, the structural components, are only the beginning. Beneath that lies a much deeper challenge involving parts, knowledge, and cost. Sourcing components for a hypercar is not like ordering parts for a typical vehicle. There is no open marketplace where everything is readily available. Each piece has to be tracked down through unconventional means, often involving fragmented networks that operate quietly in the background. Donor cars, dismantlers, private collections, and individuals with insider experience all play a role in forming a supply chain that was never meant to be visible. Even when the right parts are found, understanding how they integrate into the broader system presents another level of difficulty. These cars are not built in a way that encourages easy comprehension. Their systems are deeply interconnected, with each component influencing others in ways that are not immediately obvious. The engine, the forced induction setup, the transmission, and the cooling systems all rely on precise coordination. Without official documentation, every step forward requires experimentation, patience, and a willingness to learn through failure. It's a slow, demanding process that cannot be shortcut. Above all of this sits the financial barrier. The cost of hypercar components exists in a completely different realm compared to ordinary vehicles. Each decision carries significant weight, and mistakes are not easily absorbed. The expense alone is enough to deter most attempts before they even begin. When you combine the challenges of sourcing parts, acquiring knowledge, and managing costs, the conclusion the industry has always reinforced becomes clear. Independent repair is not feasible. But what's happening here disrupts that conclusion in a subtle yet powerful way. The most important aspect of this project isn't whether the car is successfully repaired. It's what is being created along the way. Every time a part is located outside official channels, it proves that those channels exist and can be accessed. Every time a system is understood through hands-on work, that understanding becomes something that can be shared, referenced, and expanded upon. Bit by bit, the knowledge that was once confined to a small group begins to spread outward. This shift matters because the true barrier has never been purely physical. It has always been informational. The complexity of these cars acts as a gate, but that gate only remains effective as long as the knowledge required to pass through it stays hidden. By documenting the process, By showing each obstacle and its solution, this project is effectively moving that knowledge into the open. It's not being leaked or stolen, it's being built through effort and made accessible through transparency. If this process reaches a successful conclusion, the implications are difficult to ignore. It would demonstrate that a machine widely considered too complex for independent repair can, in fact, be rebuilt outside the system that was designed to control it. It would show that the limitations placed on ownership are not absolute, and once that demonstration exists, it cannot be undone. A functioning car becomes proof, and proof changes how people think. This leads to a deeper question about ownership itself. Legally, ownership is straightforward. The title defines who the car belongs to, but practical ownership is something else entirely. It involves the ability to maintain, repair, and continue using the vehicle without reliance on a single source. For hypercar owners, that kind of independence has never truly existed. There has always been an unspoken condition attached. You own the car, but only within the boundaries we set. Once those boundaries are enforced, the concept of ownership becomes limited. What's happening now challenges that limitation. It suggests that ownership could mean more than just possession, that it could include the freedom to sustain the machine on one's own terms. This isn't about undermining manufacturers or dismissing their expertise. It's about expanding what is possible outside of their direct control. And even if this particular project encounters setbacks, the effects are already visible. People are seeing parts being sourced that were assumed to be inaccessible. They're watching systems being analysed and understood without official guidance. They're witnessing the formation of a network built around solving a problem that was once considered unsolvable. That network, once formed, doesn't simply disappear. It grows, evolves, and becomes a resource for others who choose to take on similar challenges. The knowledge accumulates, the connections strengthen, and the barrier that once seemed insurmountable begins to look more like something that can be navigated with enough persistence. Inside that garage, the work being done goes beyond the physical act of repairing a car. It represents a shift in how these machines are perceived and what is believed to be possible. It shows that the line between dependence and independence is not fixed, that it can be pushed, tested, and potentially redrawn. And if the moment comes when the engine turns over and runs, it will signify more than just a successful rebuild. It will mark the point at which a long-standing assumption is proven incomplete. Because once a path has been established, once it has been shown that something can be done, it becomes far easier for others to follow. The door that opens in that moment is not easily closed, and that is why this project carries weight far beyond the car itself. It's not just about bringing a machine back to life. It's about redefining what it means to own one in the first place, and setting a precedent that could influence every similar endeavour that comes after.